Okay. All right. Bye. See you. Talk to you in a minute.
WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. I am so happy to be back with you. It's been a while, but I'm so happy to be back with you. Miss you. Hope you miss me too. But the Community Bell Show is here, and we're going to talk about some of the things you want to talk about. If there's something special you want us to talk about, just send us an email, and we'll be glad to get that topic discussed for you. Today, our guest is our real estate person, Mr. Ken Scott. It's Real Estate Monday. And so Ken is going to be here to talk to us about what's going on in the world of real estate today. Always a topic, always something going on with real estate. And I want you to hear from the expert, Mr. Ken Scott, about that. But before that, let me just, I'm not going to talk a lot about it today, probably more in the future. Our elections took place last Tuesday. Um, there were some good things and some not so good things, in my opinion, that took place. I want you to know that for the first time in 70 years, Detroit will not have any Black representation in Washington, D.C. For the first time in 70 years, the city of Detroit, the blackest city in the country, will not have anyone Black representing them. That's a very sad thing. It's a very sad time, I believe, for those of us who live in this city, who care about this city, who care about all of the people in this city. But we'll talk about that more as more shows come up. But I wanted to share that information with you. The second thing I'd like to talk about as it relates to elections is from now on, you're going to hear about why it's important to vote. If you'll remember, uh, 2 years ago, we talked about the census every week. There was something said about the census. And so now what we're going to do is talk about elections and your duty, your responsibility as a citizen to vote, to chime in on what is important to you. Because you see, if you don't vote, if you don't participate in the system, you have no right to talk about what you like or what you don't like. You have no right to criticize anybody in any elected position because you have not participated in getting those people to where they are or in talking about, in your words, what's important to you. So, elections will be a topic every week as we go forward. Because I think many times it isn't so much that people don't want to participate. I think they get caught up in their lives. They get so busy that they forget. Because I had people tell me on election day, oh my goodness, a lot of young people didn't even know there was an election. I don't ever want to hear that again. I don't ever want that to happen again, that people don't know there's an election. I want them to know that the day is coming, when that day is, what time they can vote, where they can vote, what the issues are, what's on the ballot that they're going to be voting on that day. And so from now on, you're going to hear us talk about elections and what's important with elections, what's important to all of you. Because if you think about it, elections determine our lifestyle. I know some people are going to say, oh, no, they don't determine my lifestyle. I determine my lifestyle. And you determine your lifestyle to a degree. But think about it. Elections determine how much in taxes you're going to pay. You don't determine that. The people you elect determine that. Let me say that again. Elections determine how much you're going to pay in taxes. The people you elect make that decision. So you want to make someone in that office that is going to make a decision as it relates to taxes that's going to benefit you. It's going to be good for you and your children and their children. Elections determine how much you pay for education. Okay, Miss Bell, here you go again. How do elections determine how much I pay for education? Well, first of all, your state elected officials and your federal elected officials determine how much money in the budget is going to be spent on elections. The boards of education, the state boards of education, the local boards of education get their money from the state and the federal government to educate our children. So those people that you send to Lansing and to Washington determine how much is going to be spent to educate our children. Those are the people you vote for. So you want to know what they feel about elections. You want to know what they feel about public elections because it's public dollars. It's tax dollars. And you want to know what they feel about those dollars being spent on our children. Oh, let me do one more. How about roads? Oh my. If you're in Michigan, you know about the roads. Well, the people you send to Lansington and Washington determine how much is going to be spent on the roads. They determine how much will be spent to repair the roads. They determine how much money you're going to pay in gas taxes. All of that, all of that is determined by the people that we send to Washington and to Lansing. So don't say that, oh, those people don't affect my life. Yes, they do. No matter how much money you get, you can be very, very rich. They still affect your life. You can be poor and they really affect your lives. And you can be middle class people, everyday people. They affect your life as well. And so we're going to talk about the things that impact all of our lives. For instance, on the last ballot, at least in Wayne County, there was a proposal on there to continue with the juvenile justice millage. You know how that affects you? That says that when young people are incarcerated, they have a place that's a decent place for them to learn how to come back and live with the rest of us. That isn't free. That's paid with tax dollars. The juvenile justice proposal on the ballot did win. And so we can continue to provide a place for those young people who need some assistance in learning how to be in the real world and learning how to be in a society that's a civil society. So that did pass, but that impacts you because if we don't teach those young people who have committed some kind of infraction, crime, if we don't teach them how to come back from that juvenile facility and be a part of our community, a positive part of our community, we're going to be in big trouble. I know you've heard over the weekend about the shootings that took place. Tragic, tragic lives were lost. And so if we don't start helping those people, our people, our people, our people who are in trouble and don't know how to react in civil society, we're going to continue to be in trouble. We're going to continue to see people get killed. So tax dollars do that. Your tax dollars do that. That's what happens when you have elections. Those are the consequences of elections. And so don't say it doesn't impact you because it does impact you. It does impact you. Police officers, firemen, all of those things are paid for with tax dollars. Who determines how much money they're going to get? The people you elect. That's why it's so important that you vote for people you believe have your best interests at heart, for people you believe understand your situation, your circumstances. That's why it's important that you vote for those people, for people who know you, for people who know your community, for people who might have gone to a high school you might have gone to, might have gone to a church you go to. The people in your community that you associate with, those are the people who make decisions about what your life is going to be. It's important that you understand elections and how critical elections are to all of our well-beings. And it's not just a word that says take your souls to the polls. When you're taking your souls, surely they're talking about your feet, but they're also talking about your internal soul, the soul of the people that you're going to be listening to. What do you know about that person's soul? What do you know about the church that person went to or didn't go to? But what do you know about how that person treats people? What do you know about how that person interacts with community people? What do you know about the ethics of that person? What do you know about how that person interacts with the people in the community? Are they liars? Are they cheaters? Do they do anything to win? What do you know about people that we're electing to office? That's important because what you know about them can help you make an informed decision about whether you're going to vote for that person or not, and whether that person is the kind of person you want to represent you. the person you want to represent your children, your grandmother, your great grandmother, all of those relatives that you love, those elders in your community, the seniors in your community. What does that person think about those seniors? What do they think about the people that you love and that you support? All of that plays into who you're going to vote for and whether or not you vote. That's the real issue. Detroit, less than 25% of you came to the polls on August the 2nd. Less than 25% of you. So let's just say there are 600,000 people in Detroit. That means that about 150,000 people determine your fate. How about that? 150 to 175,000 people determine what's going to be good for everybody. And that means you, if you didn't vote, those people made a decision for you. Those people decided what monies are going to go to your schools. Those people decided how much is going to be spent for police and protection and fire protection, and how much is going to be spent for so that you have clean water and your roads are in good shape. How much is going to be spent to make sure that the air quality in your city is good. How much is going to be spent to make sure your life is a life that you can live in peace and comfort. Only about 125, 150,000 people made that decision for you. Those of you who feel good about that, I need to have a conversation offline with you, because that's just like somebody coming in your house and who lives in your house and says, okay, I'm going to make decisions for everybody. I don't care what the rest of you think. I'm making this decision. And since you didn't chime in, you didn't say anything about it, I can make it and you can't do anything about it. How about that? How would you think about that? What would you think about that? What would you think about that? You probably wouldn't like that very much, I'm thinking. So elections are going to be a big part of what goes on. For now on this show, we're going to say something about elections and what kinds of things are being decided for you by 25% of the people. We're going to talk about that. We're going to see how you feel about that, so you can chime in and let me know how you feel about somebody else making a decision for you. That is what we need to do. And it's just heartbreaking that we have people in every city. I've got Kimberly Whitson right now who just said, same thing goes where she is. The other people are making decisions. And unfortunately, we have people who either don't care, don't know, and I hate to say people are too stupid to know, but just too complacent to know. So you're not going to be able to say you didn't know, because I'm going to tell you. And so then when you don't make that decision, I'm going to say something else about you. But you can't say you didn't know, because I'm going to talk about when you vote and how you vote and what you're going to be voting for. I'm going to have some of those people that you might be voting for on this show, so that you can hear from them what their views are on whatever issues you want to talk about. You'll be able to ask them questions. But that's the only way we're going to be able to make sure that we take care of ourselves. We got to take care of ourselves, and we got to take care of our loved ones. That's what we have to do. You're going to hear a song in another minute or two, and after that song, you'll come back and you're going to hear me talk some more about a few things I want to tell you about on this Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock in the rain. But that's okay, because rain is good. Rain helps things grow. Rain helps things grow and be revitalized, and they're green and they're lively, and so that's what we want to happen. So you'll hear about that in just after our next song. Next song is going to come up in just about a minute. And isn't it wonderful to hear some of the wonderful music that the station plays? We do good stuff on this station. WVTC is a wonderful, informational, religious, God-fearing station that loves people. And we love hearing from people. So let us hear from you. Let us hear from you, so that we can, what you want to talk about. Let us hear from you. It'll be a wonderful thing to happen. And we're back. We're back. We're back. We were just talking about elections and the consequences of elections. Well, we're not talking, I'm not going to talk about those elections. I'm going to talk about another election now, the consequences of elections. This one is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful story because those of you who know how wonderful station WVTC Detroit and Chicago are, WVTC Detroit has won the Stellar Awards. How about that? That deserves a applause and all that good stuff. That is one of the most prestigious awards given by BET. It was on BET. The Stellar Awards took place back in July, and our very own owner and host, Miss Sandy Rose, was in Atlanta to receive the Stellar Award that WVTC Detroit won for being the best station in our market, our mid market. Isn't that wonderful? I'm just so excited. I can't tell you how excited I am. It's a wonderful thing. And do know this was voted on. Here we go with another election now, consequences of elections. This was voted on by the listening audience. So this was not one of those things where there are a few folks in the back room who sat there and said, okay, which one of these do we want? That's not how this works. This was voted on by you, the listening public, our listening audience. You, you across country decided that WVTC was the best internet radio station. Isn't that incredible? I mean, that is just, I'm just thrilled. I can't talk about it enough. It is absolutely incredible. And we're so excited that we have a station owner that's dedicated enough, smart lady to put this together. And here we are, the winner. And we are not an old station by station standards. We were just started in October of 2018. So, we're not an old station. We're a new station. And for a new station owned by a Black woman to receive that kind of honor, the Stellar Awards, oh my goodness. And the wonderful part about it, she was in Atlanta to accept our award. Accept that, I say our, we're all claiming this, our award for being the best internet radio station in the country, in our market. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? So again, elections matter. Elections matter. People who vote matter. People who think about what is important to them and their families and their loved ones in their community matter. They matter because we are all in this together. None of us can survive this without each other. None of us. And so it matters what we do and who we do it with and what we say. It matters that we have people who believe that having a station of this nature to talk to you about what we believe are the right kinds of things, what we believe are God-given rights kinds of things that God has said to us. Let's do this and then follow that lead. It matters who votes. Elections matter. Elections matter everywhere. I want you to know that elections matter everywhere. And given that, I want to tell you about another one, Sheriff Raphael Washington. And the sheriff is on our show every fourth Monday. It's the Wayne County Sheriff's Monday. And he comes on and talks to us about what's going on in the Sheriff's Department, brings to us such vital information about what goes on in that department, the people in that department, what those people do, how they do it. He brings that information to us so that you, the public, the citizens, will understand what your tax dollars are paying for, because that's another one. The sheriff's departments are paid for with tax dollars and some federal dollars, obviously, but your tax dollars pay for that. And you ought to know. And so Sheriff Washington comes on, he brings his sergeants, his lieutenants, his captains, and all of those folk on to talk to us about how the office runs, just how does the sheriff's office run. And he has been excellent in sharing that information with us. He started something called the Citizens Advisory Committee, and I had the pleasure of being in the first training class for that Citizens Committee. And our training took us all over Wayne County. Took us to the downtown jail where we had a chance to see what goes on in the jail. We had a chance to see those people who were being held in the jail, and do know that everyone who's in the jail has not been found guilty. Many of them are awaiting trial. And just between me and you, just because they haven't been found guilty yet, some of them I want to be remain in the jail while they're awaiting trial. Those people who have been accused of committing violent acts, I want them to be in the jail so they don't hurt anybody else. I want them to be in the jail so that they don't hurt anyone else. And so those are the people that we had a chance to go through the jail and see the facilities that they're kept in. We had a chance to see the women's ward and the men's ward. We had a chance to review the ward where they have people who have psychological problems. And that was kind of heartbreaking to see. We saw the women's side of it. But the best part was to hear the people who are the officers who are looking after these people, the care they give them, and how sensitive they were to the needs of these people, and to understand that some of these people were acting out, saying things, doing things, but they weren't doing it because they were trying to be malicious. They're sick. They're sick. And we had people who were watching them, who were jailers, who had the compassion to take care of them because they knew that the actions that were being done were not towards them. The people were sick. And so that was really a really good piece of the training we had. We were able to see the technical response group. And those are the folks, when you see on TV SWAT, these were the SWATs of Wayne County. These people are tough. I want you to know. These people are tough. But what I didn't know, but it's interesting for you to know, is that every time they go out, there is a medical doctor with them. There's a physician with them. So that if one of them gets injured, or if the person who is acting out that they're going after gets injured, there's a medical doctor right there who can hopefully try and help the situation before they get to the hospital. And these doctors volunteer their services. They're not paid by the county. They volunteer their service. They really deserve a pat on the back. But there's technical units, and when you see them on TV, you don't really get a feel for how heavy that equipment is. Well, let me tell you, I tried on one of those big vests that they have and the helmet that they have to wear. Oh my goodness, it almost dropped me to my knees. It's heavy stuff. I can't imagine how they run into situations, especially when it's this hot and humid, how they run into situations with all of that gear on and still can move around and do their job. It was quite amazing to see the kind of equipment they must carry around. And the people on that unit have been there a while. They were good everyday people, and I just commend them for what they do every day. We saw the canine unit, and the canine unit, the dog's name was Thor. It's German Shepherd. And he was donated to the unit by a citizen who could not take care of him because he traveled a lot. So he donated Thor to the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. Thor is a beautiful animal, a beautiful German Shepherd. Reminded me of a German Shepherd we had when my children were little, called Cindy. Cindy was a wonderful German Shepherd. Sweetest little thing you'd ever want to see. Although I didn't want the dog when we started, but after After we got the dog and she became a part of the family, then she was just a part of the family. But Thor was Thor's a big dog. He's not as small as Cindy was, but Thor is the canine unit. Thor has discovered more drugs than any canine ever. Thor is something, but his handler could handle him like nobody's business. Around us, Thor was just as gentle as could be. But all his handler had to do was say a word, and Thor was ready to go. So Thor is our canine unit who has been trained to discover drugs and all of that kind of thing, and he does an excellent job. His handler was excellent. We had a chance to look at the motorcycle unit. These motorcycles weigh, I think they said, what? Oh, 1,000 pounds or more. They're heavy. They're beautiful bikes, but they are heavy. And the training that those people have to go through is very, very rigorous. It's tough training, but they have to go through it if they're going to be motorcycle cops. So when you see them riding out, and many of them are special detailed when dignitaries like the president and those kinds of things come to town, those are the people you see on those motorcycles. Incredible group of young men and women. Incredible group of people. And so we just are appreciative of Wayne County Sheriff Raphael Washington. We congratulate him on his win on last Tuesday. Sheriff Washington was appointed after our beloved Benny Napoleon passed away due to COVID. And Sheriff Washington had to run in this election to continue to be sheriff. And I'm very pleased that he won because he's done a great job since he's been sheriff. I guess it's been 2 years, almost 2 years now. But he has to run again in 2 more years because the term is a 4-year term. So he was appointed because they have to appoint a sheriff within a specified number of days once the sheriff is no longer able to carry out his duties. And of course, Benny couldn't because he had died. They appointed Sheriff Washington, who then had to run in the first scheduled election, and this was the first scheduled election. And so he ran in this election, and he won, and he'll run again, and he'll finish Benny Napoleon's 4-year term, which will end in 2024. And then he'll have to run for re-election at that time. But he's a great guy, God-fearing guy, member of the Greater Grace Church on 7 Mile, what I call the old Edgewater Park location. For those of you who have been around as long as I have, you remember Edgewater Park was at 7 Mile on your Telegraph, and that's the church, Greater Grace Temple. Beautiful facility. Pastor Ellis is the bishop there. Beautiful facility. But that's where Sheriff Washington is a member. So he's a God-fearing man. But what you probably didn't know is not only is he our sheriff, he also serves as the official, what do we call him? Official security person for the Church of God in Christ International. You hear me? When they have conferences, he is the one that directs security for them. Isn't that incredible? He's just a great guy. So I'm pleased with him. Met his wife and his mother. They're both wonderful ladies. So he is he's a keeper. He's a good guy. So I'm just pleased that he won that election last Tuesday. But let me go back to, as I talked about elections and how critical they are to all of our lives. To all of our lives. We've got another election coming in November. That's what we call the general election. We just had the primary election last Tuesday. The general election will be in November. And I will be talking to you in future dates about what's on the ballot in November and who's on the ballot in November, so that you can make some informed decisions about who you want to represent you, who you want to make those decisions on your behalf that impact your lives. Because if you get someone who does not think as you do, you may have some trouble with some of the decisions that they make. But you're going to have to live with them, because those of you who didn't vote didn't express your opinions. And you let somebody else make a decision for you. And then you might want to say, oh, I don't like that person. Who made that decision? You, because you didn't vote. You were the one. So do know that those decisions were going to be made, and you need to have a part in making those decisions. There is another election that's coming also. You didn't see it on the primary ballot because of the number of people. It's a school board election. On the general election ballot in November, you will be voting for people to represent you on what I think is the most important position there is, and that is on the school board. Someone who's going to be making decisions for our children. And I say our children because I've got three grandchildren in the school system now, three of them. In Detroit, people are going to be making a decision on who's going to make those decisions about what's happened, about what time the schools start, about how many days the schools are in, about what curriculum is going to be, about how much money is going to be spent on each child, about attendance, about lunches, about all those things that are important to you, about classrooms and books and computers and all of those things. There are going to be people who will be making decisions that will impact your children and my grandchildren for decades to come. And so we'll talk more about that also. As we'll have people who I will introduce to you uh, because people will ask to be on the show. And if they ask, of course, I let them come on the show and talk about what they are going to do as relates to education for our children and what their views are as it relates to education for our children. What do they think parental involvement should be? What do they think teachers ought to be doing? Do they think teachers are doing okay? What about security in our schools? In particular, now, security in our schools. We know what's been happening around the country. We don't want to see any of that happening in our schools. So we want to make sure that our children and our teachers and all of our employees in our schools are safe. And the parents, because parents are coming in and out of school also. But do know, and I'll talk about this at another show also, if you intend to volunteer in our schools, you need to be approved because anybody just can't come be coming up in and up out in our schools where our children are. I appreciate that. I'm a volunteer. I had to fill out a volunteer form. If you're going to be in schools every day doing something around children, not only have to fill out the volunteer form, you're going to have to be checked out by a security firm, police. They're going to check you out to make sure that you don't have anything in your background that might say, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this in the school. Maybe you need to go volunteer somewhere. We want you to help, but you can't help right here because this is where children are and you should not be around children. But maybe there's something else you can volunteer to do. We don't want to chase people away, but we do want to make sure that the people who are volunteering are people we can trust with our children, people our children can feel safe around, people our staff can feel safe around. So if you want to volunteer, I'll give you out next time. I'll give you information about how you can do that. And we need all we can get. We need everybody to jump on board to help these babies succeed. We need everybody to jump on board to help these babies succeed. We need to help the babies. We need to help their parents. And there may be parents who just have some issues. They don't have a job. They may not have a place to stay. They may need some food. We don't know what the issues are, but whatever they are, this community needs to be able to wrap their arms around those parents so that they can help their children and we can help them help their children. That's what needs to happen. And so I'll be sharing with you information that the school system will be putting out about how you can volunteer, how you can help parents help their children, how you can help teachers help children, all of that. Because all of that is so important. And it all gets back to elections. Elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. So we need to make sure that whoever we elect is the person who's going to do the best job possible for our children, our seniors, our adults, everybody. They're going to do the best job possible. And it's big and that they're listening to you. They're not just going off doing whatever the heck they want just because they think it ought to be done. They listen to the parents because the parents have a big stake in this. So this has to be a joint effort between the people you elect as school board members, the people we hire as teachers and custodians and half day workers and kitchen workers and principals and all those people. We need to make sure that they are the kind of people who care as much about our children as we do. How do we do that? You make sure you're up at those schools. Make sure that you are helping them out, that you're volunteering, that they know you're there to help, not to come up there and raise a whole lot of ruckus. Now, don't go up there raising a lot of ruckus in schools, but that you're there to help. It's important that you know that you need to help. It isn't just their job. It's your job as a parent too. So we're going to talk about those things. We're going to talk about how you can help out. And for those of you who are working, we know you can't go up there and help out. But those of you who are not working, who may be retired, or who just aren't working right now, help out. Help in your community. Find a place you can help. We've got all sorts of skills in our community. We want people to be able to look at what they can do and what they can contribute to help. I know you can do it. You've done it before. We need you to do it again. We need you to jump in with both feet, both hands, all of that, and bring everybody with you to say, okay, this is our community. This is our community. And we are going to take care of it. That's what needs to happen. And so in the future, I'll have people on who will talk about the school board. Have people on who will talk about the governor's office. We'll have people on talking about the Secretary of State's office. We'll talk about, again, voting and why it's so important that you vote. But we'll give you information that will help you make an informed decision. We'll let you know when you should be voting, what's on the ballot, what the implications are of those things that are on the ballot. Because sometimes the wording on the ballot is not as clear as I would want it to be, because sometimes I have to sit back and read it 2 or 3 times or call somebody and say, now, okay, what did this really mean? If I vote yes, does that really mean I'm voting no? So I know that sometimes ballot language can be tough, but we're going to get through this together. We're going to make sure that as we go forward, we're going to do everything we can to help our community and to help each other. This is our community. We can't just say, oh, I don't care if something happened, I'm not going to be a part of it. No. We're going to all be a part of it, whatever that is. We're going to be a part of making it work. Well, my time is just about out, but I do want to say thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for listening to me today. I appreciate that. You're going to hear me again next Monday. You're going to hear me again next Monday because I'm going to be talking about voting every time. So just get ready. And there may be some things you need to write down. So maybe you want to have a pen and pencil ready so that you can hear, write, and remember. Oftentimes for me, if I hear it and I write it down, I make sure I remember it. So thank you again, listening audience. And as I always tell you, the quote from Dr. Martin Luther King, not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great, because greatness is determined by service. Do you hear that? Greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of love, of grace, and a soul generated by love. Again, you only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. That's what Martin Luther King said. And we're going to continue to quote him every week because we all need to know that we are great because we have a heart full of love and we can be grateful, and grace will get us through. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next week, 4:00, Community Bell Show. Be sure to listen and tell all your friends, come listen. You're going to hear some good stuff. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit. You're listening to